Good morning, everyone. Beautiful morning. As always. I feel like this is a bit crooked. Is that all right? Do you want me to move this? All right. Just checking everyone can hear me. Bit of noise in the background. That's okay. It's the motorway. Yeah. That's very good, Jess. All right, everyone's right? Okay. Well, good morning, Queensland, and some further good news today. 0 community cases, and we only have 2 overseas in hotel quarantine. And our total number of active cases now in our hospitals is 15, which is fantastic. Remember, it got right up there a few weeks ago, so the fact that we've actually reduced the number of travellers returning back to Queensland has meant that we've been able to process through those active cases, and they've come right down, which is fantastic. So today we've got another opening, and it's the other week we opened the Sumner's Overpass, which is now the Les Waters Overpass, but today once again great infrastructure in this state, and this $400 million Ipswich Motorway upgrade is now completed, which is fantastic news. 50% commitment from the feds, 50% commitment from us. See what happens when we work together? We get to deliver vital infrastructure projects like the one we have behind us. This is going to mean that people can get home faster to their families. Commuting will be so much easier. But what's really significant about this upgrade is that we've actually flood-proofed over the Oxley Creek. Now, this is really important because at times of flood and heavy rains, the water would come over the motorway and cause it to be either shut down or stopped for a period of time. This is about building back our infrastructure better and making sure that it's flood-proof. So you can see that just over to the right down here. Minister Bailey will talk a little bit more about the off-ramps and what that means, but about 85,000 motorists use this every day. So that's a lot of motorists that use the Ipswich Motorway. It's a significant part from Rockley to Oxley, and the off-ramps also mean that it eases congestion, especially when people want to get on and off the freeway. So I might hand over to Minister Bailey to say a few words, then our federal member and our local members, and then we're happy to take a few questions, and then I might talk a little bit more then about regional quarantine and also the Olympics. Thanks, Mark.
Look, thanks very much, Premier. Great to join you here with Jess Pugh, Peter Russo and Federal Member Milton Dick. This has been a fantastic project. $400 million commitment, first put down $200 million from the state government, matched by the Commonwealth. I want to thank the Commonwealth for working collaboratively with the Palaszczuk government on this project, which is the 6th laning of the Ipswich Motorway from Oxley Roundabout to Granard Road at Rockley, and we've added an additional connection to it, the Boundary Road extension with a range of service roads, which means if you don't need to get on and off the motorway, you can use those service roads. It takes some of the pressure off the motorway, and as the Premier outlined before, it means a much more flood resilient motorway here as well, because the Oxley Creek catchment is a huge catchment. So when we get some heavy rain and big rains, we do get a lot of water coming through here, and it's lifted the whole deck considerably to make it much more flood immune. So that's fantastic news, and we've had 470 jobs on this project, and as part of this major road upgrade, we see 6.5 kilometres of new cycleways as well. So we've built 7 new bridges. A couple of those have been active transport bridges, and it's now created a whole new active transport corridor between Oxley and Granard Road, Rockley, with an underpass and a connection down to Inala that never existed before. You would never cycle on the Ipswich Motorway for fear of your life before. Now you can do it safely, separated. And that's what we do when we do these big road upgrades that not only benefit 85,000 motorists a day and 12,000 heavy vehicle drivers every day, and improve our productivity for jobs in the economy, but it also means we retrofit for active transport while we do that. We did that on the Gateway Arterial North. We're doing that on the M1. We're doing that on a whole range of projects like the Bruce Highway south of Cairns, and that's smart use of funds for infrastructure. And it's a real pleasure to be here to see it open today. And I think motorists are really, really happy to see the outcomes because of this infrastructure project. Yes.
Well, thanks very much, Minister and Premier. This is an important day for our community with the opening of this project. I know for many years locals have been telling me, and indeed the Premier's own electorate, about how they are sick and tired of sitting in traffic. Now we're seeing traffic arriving home quicker. People are getting home to their families a lot sooner. Businesses are really happy with this investment by the Commonwealth and the state government. Particularly want to thank the workers and the team that have worked on this project. It hasn't been the easiest of projects, but they've really delivered an amazing infrastructure project for our local residents, and I'm looking forward to seeing more and more businesses call this part home and families getting home quicker and sooner. Thank you, Premier, and thank you to the Commonwealth Government for making the Ipswich Motorway a lot smoother and a lot quicker to get home.
Good morning. It's a real pleasure to be here. As the Premier said, less than a month ago we were opening the Sumner Road overpass in my electorate of Mount Omni, and now here we are again opening an even bigger piece of infrastructure in partnership with the federal government. The Ipswich Motorway upgrade is going to be an absolute game changer for residents in Ipswich in the southern suburbs of my electorate, because it means that we no longer have to worry about the road flooding in heavy rain events and of course in flood events, and that is really, really important to make sure that people can get home to their families during heavy rains, but each and every day it also means that people can get to work on time, and of course they can get home to their families quicker as well. Local businesses are really, really pleased with this upgrade because it means they can get where they need to go faster. Tradies in particular, this will be known, I think, as the Tradie Express because it's flowing really beautifully, and here we are in peak hour. So I'm just really, really excited with all of the infrastructure upgrades that are happening in and around my electorate of Mount Omni. It's a really, really proud and happy day for us as a community. Pete.
It's a big improvement, and it's great to see as Jess just said, the traffic flowing. It allows people to get to work on time and get home to their families on time. So it's a great improvement, and I'd like to thank the state government for their efforts in putting this together and working in conjunction with the Commonwealth government. It's a big achievement, and it's great to see.
Thanks, Peter. Any questions about the motorway? No? All right, I might make a few other comments if I can. Okay, so a couple of things. Last week I wrote to the federal government about suspending flights from India. What we have seen recently is a huge increase in the number of positive cases in India per day, in excess of 300,000. We're also seeing more mutant strains developing of COVID around the world, and we have to do everything we can to protect Queenslanders and protect Australians. I understand that the Commonwealth is meeting to discuss this issue. Other countries have done a temporary suspension. I don't think it would be out of kilter for Queensland and Australia to also do the same. We're due to have some direct flights coming in the next couple of weeks. Our health authorities are on high alert. We're very worried about the number of people who could be infectious on those flights. So hopefully the Commonwealth will make some further decisions today. Secondly, in relation to those issues around the world pandemic and that we're seeing more highly contagious strains, we will continue to see more lockdowns in our capital cities unless we give due consideration to regional quarantine facilities. This is absolutely critical. We are by no means out of the woods yet. Australia has done very well. Our borders have been one of our greatest strengths, but regional quarantine facilities like the one we're proposing in Toowoomba would greatly assist, not having to pose 3-day lockdowns that we've seen happen in other states. And of course, Mark McGowan has also called for Christmas Island. There are a range of options that I believe that the National Cabinet should consider when it comes to regional quarantine. And finally, on the Olympics, great news out of Canberra. Our deadline was yesterday to send to the IOC our commitment for the priority guarantees. 3:57 p.m, I think, around that time, I received confirmation from the Commonwealth that they would give those commitments. I thank the Commonwealth. I've always said we work best when we work together, and a partnership is a partnership. And what we've seen here behind me, the delivery of this Ipswich Motorway was delivered by a 50-50 partnership between the Commonwealth and the state. We do this around Queensland with a whole range of projects, and we can definitely do it when it comes to the Olympics. So I was absolutely delighted. I'll have to tell you that before 3:57 p.m, I was very worried. I was absolutely concerned that what that would mean for the Olympics if we did not receive that commitment. But today I'm absolutely delighted, and I've now sent a letter to Thomas Spark, the head of the International Olympic Committee, confirming that the Commonwealth and the state have agreed to the priority guarantee. So that's the next big step. There's another big step in May, and then of course there could be a decision as soon as Tokyo about awarding 2032. Look, honestly, the GABA is a no-brainer, and that will absolutely go ahead. It is linked in with our transport of cross-river rail. It makes sense and will be utilised for decades to come for Queenslanders and Australians to enjoy sporting matches after the Olympics. So, it's a great proposal, and I also welcome the support of the Brisbane City Council for that proposal. Well, there always is an independent agency. So what happens is, once the Olympics is awarded, the independent agency is essentially set up, and it's set up in statute. And we're actually working through at the moment that legislation that the state would be required to put in at the end of the year, once we are announced as being successful, hopefully as soon as Tokyo in July.
Just on regional quarantine,
yeah.
have discussions progressed at all with the federal government?
No, we haven't heard anything else back. It is incredible because, as I've said time and time again, we just need a simple answer to a question. Will you allow international flights into Wellcamp? Yes or no? Everything else will flow from that. But what we are seeing now is time is of the essence, and the facility could have been built by now. It's incredibly frustrating, but also too, the Commonwealth also needs to consider the proposal put by Mark McGowan. Mark McGowan is saying, utilise Christmas Island as well for returning Australians. That's just rubbish. It's just rubbish. Because you can't go any further. Sorry, we'll let that truck go past. You can't go any further until you know whether or not the fundamental question is answered. Will they allow international flights to land there? It's a very simple proposition. Yes, the Health Minister will have more to say about that later, but we know that it's not just Queensland, it's all states that are experiencing high demand on our health system. And let me say this, we are fortunate at the moment that Queenslanders are able to get surgeries done, that our emergencies are able to look after our Queenslanders who are most sick, because in other parts of the world, the health systems are collapsing due to COVID. So we have been very successful in Australia of containing COVID, thanks to our strong Commonwealth international border measures, our strong quarantine measures. But we do know that our systems are experiencing demand at the moment, and that is not unique to Queensland, it is happening in other states as well. Sorry? Well, the Health Minister's laid out a range of options to look at there. I think step number one needs to be, we need to look at the number of our aged care residents that are actually in hospital beds. I think there's around 600 from memory, between 600 or 700. I think they need to be prioritised to get out into suitable aged care accommodation. Secondly, we know that we are increasing the number of our nurses and doctors coming through our systems, our training centres, because we have a whole lot of staff at the moment working on our COVID testing, everything else, our quarantine. Our health system is being stretched. But let me say this, I thank every single one of our healthcare professionals across this state. They are doing a mighty job in the midst of a world pandemic, and I ask for Queenslanders, please, to continue to show due respect and patience, because we do want to make sure that our most critically ill people are getting taken care of as quickly as possible.
Was this plan to make
Sorry?
Was the system struggling, the health system before COVID?
Well, not as much, because at the moment we have a lot of staff that have to be diverted to be doing not just the testing, but also to now the vaccinations. I mean, there's a whole lot of other issues that our health professionals are working on at the moment, which is not necessarily what they would normally do in their core business day to day. So, look, they're doing a mighty job, and I thank them. And we're continuing to put on more doctors, more nurses, more health professionals, but also we're expanding our health and hospital systems right across this state. Of course, more paramedics as well. And we'll see the satellite hospitals built over the next couple of years. We've set up a special committee working on prioritising those satellite hospitals, where I think will ease some of the pressure on our hospitals if we can get people going locally. The other issue, of course, is a lot of people are also turning up to our emergency departments when they could be going to their GPs. And, you know, honestly, sometimes that pay barrier is a big deterrent for a lot of people who don't have a lot of money to make ends meet. So we've got to look at making sure that our GPs are seeing people as regularly as possible, and also too, we need to make sure that our emergencies are kept free for emergency situations.
What's the plan to make sure that
The Health Minister will be
take enough leave this year to prevent burnout, particularly while juggling the vaccine?
Yeah, I'll let the Health Minister talk about that later. Sorry? Yeah, there is, and like we just recently opened up, from memory, the extra 200 beds on the at the Royal there, Stars. We were all there just recently where we opened up the 200 beds. A whole lot of extra beds are coming on stream over the next 12 to 18 months with expansions in Caboolture, Ipswich and Logan. And of course my government is prioritising as well a brand new hospital for Bundaberg, and of course expansions up in Cairns as well. So, and a lot of regional hospitals, don't forget. We have the most decentralised state from memory, over 160 hospitals across Queensland. Yvette Darth was recently up in the Torres Strait, where we're putting more money there into the health service, but also to our regional hospitals as well, our smaller communities. They're also getting refurbishments as well, and the next few weeks we'll be out at Roma opening their new extension as well. So it's not just the big cities. It's out right across Queensland where we have to do this massive investment in our infrastructure. That is happening, and a lot of that will be coming online over the next 12 to 18 months. Sorry? I think my understanding is it's going to be weekly, each Friday, is my understanding. Yeah. Well, I think it's very concerning. From memory, Wesley and St Andrews. So hopefully that they'll be able to work that out pretty quickly. But we are seeing more of those cyber attacks happening. But I'm quite sure they'll get that under control. Yep. Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Look, there aren't a viable alternative. We are 100% committed to light rail. It has been a fantastic success story on the Gold Coast, more than 50 million trips First stage, 2 stages have already been built, connecting with the heavy rail. Third stage will start this year. We are committed to light rail, so it's fine for people to have ideas, but the reality is the light rail is established, it's popular, it's working, and we want to see more of it built. Thank you.
For the